Okay, we're going to go over our attributes, section 3. These are kind of broken into 3 groups, defining, getting, and then deconstruct and modify. So what an attribute is, if it's a Rhino attribute, that's one of the object properties, such as color, name, layer. And then we also have our user text, which can be accessed through the attribute user text panel, which will have the key value pairs. There's also an Elefront attribute plugin. It has some extra functions such as add, delete, match, and export. Both have some unique capabilities, such as in the attribute user text panel, you can select by key, select by value, select objects by key and value, copy a value. So let's reference our objects. Reference by fake name. So now we have our 9 objects, and if we wanted to get the attributes, we'll have 9 Elefront attribute objects. So these are a little different than just plain user text because it's more of a container that's holding all that information for us. Having the various attributes as one object is really helpful when you're navigating tree structures. Let me use the get Rhino attributes. Here we'll have our name, layer, and color. Get user attributes and get user value. Very similar. User value allows you to get with a value list, get a particular key. In this case, there's only one to choose from. It gets its value. As such. Or getting the user attributes, we'll get all keys, all values, as well as the big name. Alright. Deconstruct attributes will allow the deconstruction of the Elefront attribute object. The default is keys and values, but you can zoom in and get the other attributes such as name, layer, color, material, and bake name as well. One other thing to note for getting our Rhino attributes, there's an option to read the full layer path, which is going to provide, if there's a nested layer structure, which we don't have, we get the full path. In the panel. So a couple of key things when we're working with attributes. Personally, I don't use the modify attributes very much because it's going to modify that entire Elefront attribute object. So if I wanted to change my Rhino attributes, I would use the modify Rhino object attributes, and then use our define object attributes to modify with a new key. And a new value. Here, and then modify my Rhino geometry by activating, and now I have a new key with a new value. We can remove all user attributes here. Another good one is the ability to change your layer, color, or material right here. One thing to note is if you have multiple keys, you're going to need matching values. So when it gets a little more complex with a multi-line object here, so if we go new key 2, we're going to get an error. The number of keys should match the number of values. Two. That's going to be a multi-line. So now we have 2 items. Everything is good. But this gets a little more complicated if we have multiple objects with multiple keys. So each defined object attribute is creating this one attribute, Elefront attribute. But in reality, if we get our attributes here, we have 9 objects with each their own individual attribute. So to assign multiple values, list. So if we have a list of 9 objects, we'd want to have 9 lists of 2 values each. This way we're creating one attribute object that has contained the multiple values needed to make a matching object attribute to the individual objects. So now if I activate, we have our new values. Each one has its object attribute, and this could be each one of these could be a different value now. So it's really key to understanding the data matching. So I have a flat list of the keys, a grafted list of matching values that's associated with our 9 objects.